What if I told you Africa's problem is actually a systems problem? I'm Mayward Martindale, and the business of Africa is my thing. This is a guide for the thinkers, builders, and dreamers shaping Africa's tomorrow, drawn from research, context, history, and lived experience. You've heard it all before: corruption, leadership, colonialism. Key factors that have shaped how Africa has developed since nations gained independence. But did they really gain their freedom when they were left to fend for themselves? Structures that had once governed them stripped them of everything, not even leaving the bare necessities. Independence essentially was incomplete. Nations were left without the infrastructure, mindset, or systems needed to self-govern effectively after the mindset re-engineering and trauma they had just endured. How did they expect people to go back to ruling themselves when they had completely shifted how these same people saw and thought about who they were? Our parents have constantly spoken of the glory days, reminiscing on when their countries worked. But have we had a moment to think about what that actually meant? Was it the functioning roads, institutions, and economies? But I dare ask, functioning for whom and built on whose terms? The colonial administrations? That is the question we rarely stop long enough to ask. For many nations across the African continent, it's been about 50 or 60 years of alleged independence, yet we still find ourselves dancing to the beat of their drums while trying to hear the faint voices of our own rhythm. We've had decades to reconfigure and reconstitute ourselves, but many nations find themselves in constant circular traps. We take a step forward, but find ourselves right back at the start. We try to grow out of the clutches that have held us down, yet instability, poverty, and broken mindsets keep being a hindrance, invisible blockers that limit or outright stop our development. Progress is attempted, but reversed repeatedly, because the underlying systems were never truly rebuilt or reclaimed. This is not an argument to just blame the systems of corruption, leadership, and colonialism, but also a call out for responsibility. There has to come a time when we look back at history before our land was divided without our consent and our rule of law disregarded, to examine for ourselves who we were and what we did. What many people don't realize is that what was taken from us was not just land or labor. It was the erasure of our processes, our systems, and our mindset. A system is a mindset, a set of processes that make a thing work. We find systems in every part of our lives. Wherever anything has been built or where change is desired, somebody or a group of people sit somewhere and develop a system, a way of thinking that they can deploy subliminally into society until people find themselves accepting things they never would have considered in the first place. This is precisely what happened across the African continent. Pre-colonial Africa was not a blank slate waiting to be civilized. There were trade networks, governance structures, conflict resolution systems, and philosophies of communal living that had sustained societies for centuries. When those systems were dismantled, sometimes violently, sometimes gradually, what replaced them was systems designed for extraction, not development. The heavy reliance and dependency on external factors to prove our progress while simultaneously undervaluing ourselves, our cultures, our perspectives, and how we had once worked without the interference of outsiders. This is the inheritance we have not yet fully confronted. We're still measuring ourselves by instruments we did not build, chasing benchmarks we did not set, and wondering why the finish line keeps moving. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with a choice. We can continue the circular trap, blaming, stalling, waiting, or we can do the hard work of rebuilding the systems of thinking that were taken from us, not by rejecting everything external, but by centering ourselves in the equation, by deciding that our history, our geography, and our own systems of thought are not obstacles to our future, but they're the very foundation of it. History has told us our past. Geography shapes our present. Now it is the time for us to build the systems that will determine our future. This is the business of Africa, and I'm Mayward Martindale.